Today is going to be a bit special because today's video is a reaction video. We will together look at a video from one of the very large content creators in the sphere of consulting out there. Her name is Choi. I trust that many of you have already come across of some of her videos. I believe she does great content on the topic of consulting. I inserted a link to the channel below in the video description, so check it out if you want to see more. In the video we're going to talk about today, she is talking about the pros and cons of consulting from her perspective. And I believe that consulting is a very heterogeneous field with lots of different types of firms present. So while now watching the video, I will frequently stop and share my experiences as a former McKinsey consultant. I will reflect on what she is saying and then give you my perspective on whether I believe that this is also true for an MBB context or where there might be some differences. So I trust this is really going to be valuable for you if you are asking yourself whether consulting is the right career choice for you to pursue. So welcome on my channel Firm Learning, but now without further ado, let's jump into it.
The first pro is that when you're a consultant, you usually get to work in a lot of different industries. This is great if you don't have a particular interest or passion in one industry, whether that's healthcare or consumer goods or anything like that, because in consulting, you usually get access and opportunities in all different kinds of industries.
So let me start here. What she says is that usually as a consultant you get access to lots of industries, and of course this is true and this is correct in general. Though be mindful here which consulting firm exactly you are joining. And just as in one example, in Germany there exists the large consulting firm Roland Berger, and their structure is that they are structured in different competence centers. And the usual way to start working at Roland Berger is that from the beginning you directly to commit to one of these competence centers, and then in most cases, at least this is my understanding, you will work the majority of your time for the industry of the competence center that you are part of. I understand that there are also some opportunities to start as a generalist at Roland Berger, but this is just one example. Then there are others as well. For instance, at Oliver Wyman, as far as I'm informed, there's a financial services arm. If you join there, then you will be dedicated to the financial services practice. So inform yourself, really make sure that you understand what the company really is doing, obviously, before you start there.
This is something I really appreciate about my job because I always get to be learning new things. Now, the flip side or the con to this is that you can tend to become a generalist in lots of different industries and not have a particular expertise in any single one. Over time, it is possible and normal to gain an expertise in a particular industry or issue, but that obviously takes some time. So at least in the beginning.
So here I would say, at least based on my experience at McKinsey, I'd say it's kind of right and wrong at the same time. It's right in the sense that of course in the beginning you will not be a super deep expert in one specific topic, and it takes some time, as she's also saying. And yes, if you really switch industry to industry, then it will be quite hard for you and will take some time until you really gain this deep industry expertise. But the other side of things is that, especially if you decide to early on pursue projects that are specifically in one industry only, or at least the majority of projects in that specific industry, I would argue that you will build industry expertise much quicker and much more deeply than you would in an average corporate role in that industry. And the reason is that you will do projects in all different types of companies of that industry, seeing lots of different functions in the industry, working together with very senior employees of that industry. And I trust this is really the accelerated type of career development and experience. And if you want to try to get a similar experience like that in industry, if you just start in one of a normal industry role in that industry, this will be difficult and it will take you much longer. So from that sense, I would argue that actually in consulting you can gain and collect that industry experience much more quicker than if you would just start in an average corporate role.
Part of your career, and at least for the first several years, you're probably going to be working in an array of industries rather than focusing in on a single one, depending on the firm you're at. So maybe you're at a consulting firm that has a very specific focus, but in general, as a consultant, you're working from industry to industry, so you tend to get a little bit of a surface level knowledge across all different kinds of industries. The second
And here I just want to add, or just to kind of sharpen your perception, that it's really important what your consulting background is. So from what type of consulting firm you're coming from. And I think what's important to understand is that kchoi, as far as I understand her profile, she is coming from a rather boutique type of consulting firm. She's coming from a change management consulting firm. And firms like that focus on really one specific topic. In that case, change management. If now this is accurate how I see her profile. And this now is to be contrasted with firms like MBB or even other like large strategy consulting firms, also tier 2 strategy consulting firms that have a much broader perspective of tasks that they work. So the types of projects that you will do will be much broader, which will help you to gain a much more deep understanding of a certain industry.
Second pro, which is related, is that you get to work on lots of different projects. So not only do you get to work in different industries and with different companies, but you also get to do different projects, as in solve different issues for them. In the video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I sort of break down what those different issues are, so you can check that out to learn a bit more. For me, I work on multiple different projects for different clients at the same time. There are other consultancies where you are on one project for a set number of months.
Just to add in here now, from the MBB perspective, here in the first years, you will always, like in 99% of the times, you will be dedicated to one project. You will not work at different projects in parallel. This only starts once you are a senior project lead, once you want to make the transition to become a junior partner. This is then when you start maybe leading and being responsible for 2 or 3 projects in parallel, but this is now a step in the career that is many years down the line. So in the first 3, 4, 5 years, this is not what will happen. You will be dedicated to one project, and at least now relative to the types of projects that you will do in MBB, it would also time-wise be completely impossible to do different projects or many projects in parallel. Regarding your time budget, this just would not be feasible.
But either way, you get to switch out your projects and do something a little new every single time. The con is that naturally you're going to like some projects more than others, so you're going to have some ups and downs in terms of how much you're enjoying your work. You might be staffed on a project for 3 months that you absolutely love, and then the next one comes along and it's a 6-month project that you're just not as passionate about or excited about. As you move
Yes, I can fully agree with that. That is completely accurate. For sure, doesn't matter to what consultant you talk to, everybody will confirm that there are some projects that they really liked, and then there are some projects that were really bad for all kinds of reasons, right? This is completely normal. But here I'd say the positive, if now I compare that to a corporate job, there it's even more digital, right? I mean, either you get along with your team, you get along with your boss, you like your work, or you end up actually not liking it. But what you do in a corporate role if you don't like it, then pretty much the only choice that you have is either to transition within the company, if that is even possible, or really you need to quit your job and look for something else. But the positive thing in consultant, from my perspective at least, is that yes, maybe there was a bad project which went on for a couple of months which you really disliked, but then this project will be over. Then you can now completely go out there on a new choice, you can go on a new project, you can work together with new people, and then over time you get to know the people that you really enjoy working with. You better understand for yourself what the projects are that you enjoy doing, and then can actively start to pursuing these types of projects and these types of colleagues more and more.
Move up in your career and gain more experience, then you can start to not only gain more expertise in a specific area, but also have more of a say in the projects that you're on. But when you're first starting out and in those first several years, you have to work a little bit harder to get the projects that you want to get.
Also completely agree on that. So the staffing market, what she's referring to, right? So the options of projects that you have, they very much depend on your internal reputation. So the more you are considered as a rock star, as a high performer, the more people will want to work with you. So basically the better choices you have when now you want to choose your project. And of course, in the beginning, nobody really knows you. You're kind of one of many new associates. And then you kind of need to earn and develop your reputation over time, and this will then take some time until you have developed that, but then once you did, it will significantly help you to then really do only and specifically the projects that you want to do.
The third pro is travel. Now, not all consultants travel because you might have some that are based in a particular office and all the clients are local, so there isn't much traveling going on. But a lot of consultants do have to travel around the US or even internationally to meet with their clients. Sometimes you'll get staffed on a project that is in a really cool place, but I would actually say that the pro from this is not so much the travel itself, but the rewards and the status that you get from all that travel. Personally,
that is completely accurate. So I have a whole wallet just of bonus cards of all kinds of hotel chains and airlines. You know, you have like all these gold, platinum, diamond status cards from all these different chains. And then this is something that you can also leverage for your private, for your personal vacations, right? Because then of course you will be treated accordingly in these institutions when you use that for private reasons as well. So yes, these are perks of being consultant. This is correct.
Most of my projects are based in the US, and so I've done travel to Nashville, Houston, Philadelphia, kind of all over the US, and not so much internationally yet. I'm definitely always expressing my interest at work in traveling internationally for a project, so hopefully something will come up that is the right fit. But usually when I have a work trip and I'm traveling for client work, I'm just there like the night before a meeting, then go to the meeting in the morning, and then I'm flying back home that evening. So there isn't usually that much time to do any actual exploring or traveling, but because of all the travel that I do, I gain status with my preferred airline and hotels, so you just get to reap the benefits of it.
Yeah, so here she just said that she pretty much, starts in the morning flying somewhere and then in the evening she flies out. So this is not really the rhythm that you will have on your average MBB project. At a normal MBB project, and of course here there are also some changes, but usually you will fly in on Monday morning and then fly out on Thursday evening. This is kind of your standard work week. And then within the work week, like Monday to Thursday, you will stay at the client site, and then usually stay at a hotel. The only exception, of course, is if you do a project in your hometown, and then of course you can just work or stay at home then in the evening. And then on top of that, you might fly out to even other locations. Maybe you have a workshop within the week in another city, in another country, maybe even in another continent. So this is then the travel that even comes on top of that, but kind of the baseline is staying Monday to Thursday at your client.
That, like upgrades and things like that. It also means that I can rack up miles and be able to make trips based solely on my miles, so I'm paying nothing or just paying like a $5 fee to book a plane ticket. The only con I would say that comes with traveling for work is that it is much harder to gain a healthy work-life balance. It can be hard to get into a routine. For example, meal prepping is pretty impossible to do if your schedule is constantly changing. Or even if you're a consultant who travels from Monday to Thursday, then you're only home for a few days out of the week, so you tend to do things like going out to eat instead of prepping your meals and things like that. Also, when you...
I just want to stress and underline this because here again I completely agree. And the problem is that in most cases Monday morning you will need to wake up really early to get one of the earlier flights. So depending a bit on your location, the connection, often you will need to wake up at 5 a.m., sometimes even earlier. So this means you already start your work week with some kind of sleep deficit, and then this just continues building over the work week. And then usually on Thursday evening, or then when the week is over, you really need to do lots of sleeping on the weekend to recover. Of course, now a bit depending on your individual sleep needs, but this then leads to really don't having that much time, also not on the weekends. And this is of course why this travel can be quite a burden and adds to the not so ideal work-life balance for many projects.
When you travel a lot for work, your work time and personal time tend to blend together a lot. For example, sometimes I need to book a flight that doesn't get me home until 11:30 at night, which means a lot of my personal time has been taken up by work. Pro number 4 is that you get to work with a lot of big companies, often Fortune 100 companies that are really cool and well known. That means you might get to go to the headquarters of a really well-known company, meet with leaders there, and it's just really cool that you get to help shape companies that are so well known across the world.
I agree with that. This is indeed what you will frequently do. And of course, here also depends a bit on your taste. So for me personally, one of the best experiences I had was rather working for some more medium-sized companies in consulting, not necessarily the very big corporates. And the main reason being that there, sometimes at least I felt like the possibilities that you have, the things that you can really change, the time to impact, the path to impact was even shorter, was even more direct. But now this might also be a question of personal preference. So yes, of course, you will work with very large clients and you will meet lots of senior executives this way.
Con is that those companies and clients could be a lot more demanding. This is really a generalization because some people and clients you'll just get along with better on a personal level just because your working styles or your personalities match. So regardless of the company, there are going to be some clients that are more demanding or more difficult to work with and others that are a little easier to work with. But I would say that the bigger the client or more well-known the client is, there's just that much more pressure to make sure you're performing and bringing results.
So here I'd say I didn't see that correlation that strongly, right? I had great clients to work with at very large companies, at super difficult people to work with at smaller companies. But overall, I agree that the type of clients you have, how you can work together with them, really shapes your experience. And it can be really hard as a consultant if you just don't get along well with your clients. So this is for sure a very decisive factor.
Pro number 5 is that the compensation or the pay is usually pretty good. According to Glassdoor, the average salary for a consultant in the US is about $79,000, which when you compare to a salary for a software engineer, for example, is actually kind of low. But when you look at the median salary in the US as a whole, which is $61,000, then it's actually on the more highly compensated side. The con is that while you might earn more money than you would in some other careers, because of some of the challenges I mentioned earlier in the video, like demanding work schedules and difficulty to achieve work-life balance, a lot of consultants tend to get burned out and leave after just a few years. For example,
so here, just to react to that, so on the salary side, of course, she is right. Yes, consulting in general is a good and rather high-paying career for many of them. And then it's also no secret that the MBB consulting firms are one of the firms that pay the highest salaries, right? So you can expect yourself being even at the higher end of all the spectrum. So yes, of course, the salaries are high, but what she also rightfully explains is that the demands are higher on you as well. So you will have a less work-life balance. There will be quite a significant amount of stress and pressure on you. And yes, some people do burn out and do struggle, and it is also correct that after some years, many leave the consulting firm, though I would argue that this is not only due to burnout and the work-life pressure, but also just for other career-related choices as well.
At BCG, 43% of the employees have been there for less than 2 years, and 77% have been there for less than 5 years. So despite the pay, because of the lifestyle of consulting, a lot of consultants tend to leave after just a few years. Now, as a last pro and flip side to that, many of these consultants leave their jobs because they have an even better opportunity, whether it's a job at a different company or maybe it's an acceptance to a prestigious business school. Whatever the reason, having that consulting experience on your resume makes you a very valuable asset, which is why so many people decide to go into consulting in the first place.
So yes, agree with that. Consulting is a great career choice and also does open many doors of you. And especially now with an MBB background, these are of course kind of household name consulting brands. And there are different firms that really specifically look out for these profiles to then hire. So yes, if you have this background, it is a great career choice. It can open many doors for you. Of course, there are other choices, other paths you can go that might provide you with great opportunities as well. But of course, at least from my experience, what I've seen, this is something that might be a path very worth going. That's it, guys. I hope you took some valuable information out of there. And if you have any questions, just leave me a comment below in the comment section and I will do my very best to answer every single one. If you took any value out of this video, please destroy the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more content like that, subscribe to my channel. I'm uploading at least one new video every Saturday. On my channel, I talk about my experiences being a former McKinsey strategy consultant, and I want to help you to become successful in the first years of your career. And if you want to see even more from me, I also have an Instagram channel. My handle is Firm Learning, and I also have an email mailing list. You can sign up for that for even more content. The sign up link is below in the video description. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you're all having a great day and see you next Saturday.